Israel still launched a massive retaliatory missile strike against Iran, despite Donald Trump's public calls for Netanyahu to cancel any attacks and give diplomacy a chance. But even the Yemeni Houthis got involved, who also launched missiles at Israel and threatened to resume the blockade of the Red Sea. Against this backdrop, the United States of America continued to call for de-escalation. And right after Israel's attack on the central and western parts of Iran, Tehran officially announced that they would stop shelling Israel on their part and return to the negotiating table. At the same time, Israel also announced that it would no longer attack Iranian territory, but the IDF would continue to strike Hezbollah in Lebanon. And what's notable here is that during Israel's attack on Iran, while footage from Tehran in which explosions could be heard was being posted on social media, Donald Trump publicly stated that the United States of America could organize a special forces landing on Iranian territory if Tehran does not finally make a deal. And it seems like this worked, so let's figure it out. My name is Alexei Peichi, and before we start, I ask you to subscribe to this YouTube channel, like the video, leave any comment, and subscribe to my Telegram channel. Peichi, the link to it is in the description of this video. There we post breaking news as it comes in. So, the authorities of Iran have announced the cessation of attacks on Israel, which resumed on the evening of June 7th. This was announced by the central headquarters of Hazrat Khatam al-Anbiya, which is the highest operational command body of the Iranian armed forces. It is noted that Iranian forces gave the Israeli military, supported by the US, a quote, painful response to the attacks on Lebanon, and therefore it is now possible to stop. At the same time, the Iranian headquarters emphasized that if the aggression continues, much tougher and more devastating measures will follow. Earlier, Tehran reported strikes on military targets in northern Israel, stating that they were carried out as part of the right to self-defense and in response to the violation of the ceasefire established in April. Tehran's halt of the attacks followed a statement by the US president. Donald Trump said that if the American-Iranian negotiations fail, the US may carry out a special forces landing in Iran. And next, I will quote Trump. First of all, this means that we might go in and deal with the rest of the country, which we haven't dealt with by military means. Or it will simply mean that we will maintain the blockade of Iran, because the blockade was probably more powerful than any attack ever carried out there. And later, the head of the White House wrote on Truth Social that Israel and Iran should immediately stop exchanging strikes. Israel, for its part, stated that during the night it intercepted 11 Iranian ballistic missiles, after which it carried out retaliatory strikes on military facilities in the western and central parts of Iran, as well as on a petrochemical complex in Mashhad. The Iranian side reported an attack on the Karun plant, and against this backdrop, the Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps announced the start of Operation Nasser and the launch of missiles at the Israeli air bases Tel Nov and Nevatim. It is reported that on Monday morning local time, the Israeli Air Force struck military targets in central and western Iran. According to Iranian state media, explosions were heard in the Iranian cities of Tehran, Karaj, Isfahan, Tabriz, and Kermanshah. After the airstrikes, Iran closed the airspace around Imam Khomeini International Airport in Tehran. An hour after the Israeli strikes on Iran, at least one ballistic missile was launched from Yemen towards central Israel, but it was intercepted. Soon after that, sirens wailed in Tel Aviv, and this was the first attack on Israel from Yemen since the ceasefire on April 8. In addition, the Yemeni Houthi rebel group announced today a ban on the passage of ships linked to Israel through the waters of the Red Sea, specifically through the Bab el-Mandeb Strait. Here it can be understood that the situation in the energy market is extremely tense because the other strait, the Hormuz Strait, remains completely blocked by Iran. This blockade has halted most Persian Gulf oil and gas exports, causing a sharp spike in prices. And in response to this crisis in the Hormuz Strait, Saudi Arabia has redirected more than 70% of its daily crude oil exports to the port of Yanbu on the Red Sea coast. This move has greatly helped the global economy by controlling rising prices. However, Continued interference by Yemeni Houthis in Red Sea shipping could completely shut down this alternative route. And today, a representative of the Halts announced that the ban on Israeli ships is only the first step. In the event of further escalation, the militants are threatening to stop any ships passing through the Bab el-Mandeb Strait. Nevertheless, Donald Trump had another phone conversation with Netanyahu today and called for an end to attacks on Iran. Axios reports that Trump told Netanyahu that Israel could be left alone against Iran if new strikes escalate into a full-scale war. Later, Donald Trump publicly stated the following to channel N12, commenting on his phone conversation with Netanyahu, quote, "Chat Giki Chiuwai. I told Bibi that he should be careful. I told Bibi, you should be very careful about what you're doing because very soon you might be left alone against Iran." According to him, he also asked Netanyahu not to respond to the rocket attack and claims that he managed to reduce the scale of the Israeli strike. Trump also said that he was under pressure from countries in the region that are involved in mediation efforts between the US and Iran. According to Trump, 5 countries asked him to influence Netanyahu to stop the strikes and preserve the chances of reaching an agreement. Nevertheless, Israel still retaliated, but Trump said that he managed to minimize the attack since Israel was preparing something much larger. As a result, Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu stated that Israel had stopped attacks on Iran but did not acknowledge a ceasefire. Next is a quote from Netanyahu. "At the moment, the fighting has stopped because after we struck the terrorist regime in Tehran, they stopped attacking us. If the terrorist regime in Iran makes a mistake and attacks us again, we will respond with force." Tehran tried to create a new situation by linking the conflict in Lebanon with Iran's retaliatory actions. They thought they could shell Israel from Lebanese and Iranian territory, and that we would not respond. That did not happen, and it will not happen. Not on my watch. So at this point, Iran and the US have returned to negotiations, although Israel has made it clear that they will continue attacks on Lebanon if Hezbollah fires from there. I'll leave it at that. Share your opinions and conclusions in the comments below this episode. Subscribe to the channel, hit the bell, and don't forget to like. That's all for now. Take care of yourselves. Goodbye, everyone.